That's why dealerships feel outdated and predatory. That's why resentment keeps growing for these clowns. In a world where everything else became faster and clearer, car buying stayed frozen in a past where the middleman always f***ing wins. Can I ask you a serious question? Why is it that almost everybody you know, including yourself, hates buying cars, even though most people, including yourself and myself, love cars? A couple days ago, I was driving by a local dealership and I seen a truck that I really thought was nice. And I drive a 2021 and I said, you know what, maybe I'll call and see about the price. So I looked online and I seen the price. I call him up and say, hey, what's the lowest you can do on this vehicle? And he said, well, I can't talk numbers over the phone. You're gonna have to come into the dealership. Now, everybody knows that this is one of their tactics. They want you in the car dealership so they could hold you hostage. And as I was talking to this gentleman, which seemed nice enough, I remembered something. Yeah, I hated every single one of these assholes. And to be honest with you, I hope every single car dealership fails. Here's why. People love trucks, they love horsepower, new interiors, big screen, heated seats, and the new car smell. But the second someone says, you know, I'm going to the car dealership, the reaction is instant. The groans, the eye rolls, the warnings like, good luck, don't let them screw you. That reaction didn't happen by accident. It didn't come from one bad experience. It came from decades of people independently realizing the thing that everybody realizes. Buying cars sucks, and most of the time, the process is rigged against you. Buying a new car or a truck is not fun. It is very, very stressful. And sometimes going to a car dealership feels just like going to a casino in Las Vegas. It feels like the house has the upper hand, that you're gonna walk in and lose a lot of money. And again, the only thing I can really say is that it feels rigged. But here's what a lot of these car salesmen and car dealers don't want you to know is that it is. Buying a car in 2025 still feels like we're walking into a psychological endurance test where the goal isn't to help you, it's to see how tired and confused and emotionally invested somebody can get before you finally give up and sign some papers. But if you look online and TikTok and YouTube videos, for some reason the car dealers and the sellers are shocked that people don't want to buy cars from them anymore.
Why hasn't this truck sold? I have it priced right under $90,000. It is a 2025 single cab dually sitting on JTX Ford's wheels, and it is a high output. Tell me why it hasn't sold. Is it the color? Is it the wheels? Let me know.
But the sad truth that a lot of these salesmen don't want to admit is that they earned this reputation all by themselves. You see, from the moment you look at a car, even online, the game starts. You see the price online, you say, man, that's doable. It's not too bad. I really like the car. I really like the color. I can swing that monthly payment. But then suddenly you show up to the car dealership and that price is gone. You weren't expecting it, but that price just jumped really, really high for some reason. You start going through the paperwork. Now there's mandatory add-ons, things you didn't ask for, things you did not approve and you didn't agree to, but somehow they're already installed. The nitrogen air tires, paint protection, fabric protection, VIN etching, wheel locks, dealer prep, documentation fees, and the market adjustments. And then when they bring you this inflated price and you look at them like they're fucking assholes, they look at you like, what do you mean? This is all completely normal stuff. You need the nitrogen air tires. Like every business works this way, doesn't it? Imagine ordering a refrigerator and being told, yeah, it's $1,800, but already applied as our mandatory fridge coating and now it's $3,100, but that's okay, right? You'd laugh and walk out of there. But dealerships rely on leverage because this isn't a $50 purchase. This is one of the largest investments that anyone will make other than probably a home. You see, once they get you into the dealership, you've already invested time, emotion, and now all of a sudden the power shifts because you're pretty much past the point of no return. Then comes the negotiation, except for it's not really a negotiation, it's a distraction. They ask what monthly payment you're trying to get at, and that is like the worst thing to ever answer. That question is the entire scam condensed into one sentence. Because once your focus is on the payment and what you want to pay, you stop focusing on everything else, the total price, the interest rate, the loan length, and the fees, and plus all those add-ons that we just talked about. They stretch the loan, they bump the rate, and they bury the profit. Then they smile and tell you, wow, you really won. You did great, congratulations. You took us, but unfortunately you just financed a vehicle longer than most people keep their furniture. But when you're in the car dealership, the waiting, that is the biggest thing. This is where people break. You're talking, they say, oh, hold on, I gotta leave. I'm gonna go talk to my manager. And then 10 minutes pass, they come back with some paper that looks like they just wiped their ass with. You respond, and then they leave again. Another 10 minutes, another slightly different paper shows up with a slightly different price. This isn't efficiency, this is a strategy. They're not really talking to anybody. Slow the process down, wear the buyer out, and make walking away feel like throwing hours in the trash. Exhaustion makes people compliant. Just when you think it's finally over, they send you to the finance, and this is an ambush as well. The room gets quiet, the tone gets serious, and now it's fear-based selling. Now, some of these things that they try to sell you might make sense, like gap insurance or whatever, but that's not the problem. The problem is they make you feel reckless if you say no to any of these extended warranties or the gap insurance or anything else. They look at you like you're doing something wrong. They guilt you into it. You know, this is pretty reckless if you say no. By now, you're tired and you're hungry and your kids are complaining and you just want to leave. That is the perfect timing for them. Then there's a trade-in. Suddenly your car's garbage. It's old, it's rough, and the market is soft. A week later, that same dealership lists it for thousands of dollars more than what they gave you for it. Then all of a sudden you see the car that you just traded in that they said was shit. Now all of a sudden it says clean and well maintained. It's the same car, just a different story. And people wonder why the trust is gone. But now let's answer the question everybody eventually asks. Why do we even have to deal with these assholes at the dealership to begin with? Why can't we just buy a car directly from the manufacturer? Well, here's the real answer, because the law says you can't. In most states, franchise dealer laws make it illegal for any automaker to sell vehicles directly to customers. These laws were written decades ago, long before online ordering or digital pricing even existed. And how did they sell this to the public? Well, they said it was for protection, for small dealerships that prevent monopolies and keep prices fair. But what they actually did was locked in a middleman that you are legally required to use. Manufacturers build a car, and again, they're not allowed to sell it directly to you. You have to go through the franchised dealer. That's why order online is usually just a lead form. It's a funnel that dumps you right back into the dealership. The exact same thing you were trying to avoid. Same fees, same pressure, same games. And that's why the dealers insist you come into the store and won't finalize the numbers on the phone because, well, the phone gives you power. On the phone, you can hang up, screenshot and compare 5 dealers in 10 minutes. In the store, they control everything: your time, the pace, the information, and your emotional investment. The longer you're there, the harder it is to walk away. And that's not by accident. That is the system working exactly as it is designed. And now let's talk about the moment that nobody likes to admit. The moment you sign the papers and pull off the lot with your shiny truck or car. I don't know what you drive. I'm just gonna say it. You lose a lot of money immediately. Unless it's a super rare car, any car and or truck is a crappy, horrible investment. That fancy car or fancy truck that you just bought immediately drops in price, like by multiple percent, 20, 30%, as soon as you pull off the lot. It's now considered used within the first 2 seconds. That's not opinion, that is math. It is fact. Very few purchases punish you that fast, yet everyone involved just shrugs it off like, yeah, this is normal. They don't focus on that part. They focus on the trim, the tech, and the payment. If you slow down and thought about depreciation, you might hesitate, and the hesitation kills the deals. They don't want that. But it gets better. Now you stack interest rates on top of 6%, 7%, 8%, sometimes 9% or even higher. Higher rates don't just hurt buyers. They create more room inside the deal for rate markups and finance reserves. Hidden margin most people never even see. Believe it or not, if your dealer calls up your local bank and says, hey, listen, we got a buyer here. Oh, 5%? Okay, that don't sound bad. They go back to you and say, we can get you 6%. What do you think? And I'm sorry anybody out there is trying to make a living doing this. You're a scumbag fucking asshole. But a lot of people that don't buy cars all the time, they just accept these rates and sign the deal and move on. Now they're stuck in a very high priced car with a very high depreciation and a very high interest loan. So real quick, let's recap. You bought a depreciating asset at high interest rate with added fees after hours of pressure from a system you legally couldn't bypass. And the dealerships act offended when people say they hate buying cars. Yes, of course they do, because the math shows up later when the loan balance and the vehicle value don't even come close anymore. That's when regret hits. That's when people realize the system was never built for them. This is why Tesla broke the illusion, not because the cars are perfect, but because the buying process proved something dangerous. The games were never necessary. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want an electric car or truck, but they streamlined the buying process. Price, click, order, no manager, no theatrics, no endurance test, no psychological warfare. And the reason why Tesla was able to do it is because they were a different type of car. They weren't the gas combustible engine. They were electric, and they were able to get around those regulations. And once people experienced that, they couldn't unsee it. That's why dealerships feel outdated and predatory. That's why resentment keeps growing for these clowns. In a world where everything else became faster and clearer, car buying stayed frozen in a past where the middleman always fucking wins. And here's the harsh truth that nobody in the industry wants to say out loud, but I'm going to. If dealerships were forced into full transparency tomorrow, real prices, real fees, real rates, many dealership models wouldn't survive in their current platform because the profit isn't really in the car. It's in the confusion, the delay, the pressure, and the exhaustion they put you through. So when people say car dealerships suck, they're not being dramatic. They're reacting to a system that legally traps buyers, hides information, and then wonders why nobody fucking trusts it anymore. You walk in excited, you're losing money immediately for years and years and years, you're gonna be paying on this damn thing. And the industry still asks, why does everybody hate car dealerships? And let's not forget what a lot of these clowns did during the COVID era when they just started taking the MSRP and started jacking up the prices on them. Shipment fees, docking fees. They got so greedy, they just raised the prices and left them there. And some people are probably gonna say, well, it wasn't every car dealership. Our car dealership never did that. Doesn't matter, it's guilt by association. Oh, and FYI, your fucking cars and your trucks are too expensive. Nobody wants to pay that much money for a piece of shit that's gonna break down in a year or two. And it doesn't matter if you're Ram, Ford, GMC, whatever. It's all the same. Next time you're scrolling through TikTok or YouTube Shorts and you see a car dealer saying, why won't anybody buy this red pickup truck or this blue car? Leave me a comment in the comment section below. Leave them this link because all the shit we talked about, that's why nobody wants to buy your car. Now, before I finish this video, I do want to give you the rest of the story. The car dealership that I called, I laughed in his face. Well, not really his face. I laughed at him over the phone and then I hung up on him. I'm not buying his shit. If you can't negotiate online, I'm not going to fall for your trap of going into your store and getting beaten down. I'm just not doing it. If you can't deal with me online, then I'm not going to deal with you. And for all the car dealers that are going to start leaving comments in the comment section, bitching and saying, I don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you don't forget to smash that like button and check out this video right here. We'll back more videos soon.